Question 1. Which of the following graphs in Figure 1 best describes the statement in the Australian Financial Review article, Australia's breakfast cereal market has shrunk by 0.5% annually for the past 5 years? According to Ibiswold, and one of the seeds of its decline is chia. I'd like to start off by saying that question 1 is a positive statement, since it states that the market has shrunk by 0.5% annually. We know that this is not subjective, but it is factual, making it a positive statement. Now, as we look at the graphs, we can straight away rule out both A and C. In A, we can see the shift in demand to the left, which is correct, but there is no change in the marginal revenue. And since we know that the market has shrunk by 0.5% annually, we need to see the change in the marginal revenue as well. That makes graph C very easy to rule out, since there is no change in demand and no change in the marginal revenue. Now, as we look at graph B, we can see the shift in demand to the left, which is correct, and the shift to the left in the marginal revenue, which is also correct. But what makes this graph incorrect is that the economic profit is set below the new price that has been given. This leaves us with graph D, which is correct. We can see that the shift in demand to the left is there, and the shift to the marginal revenue here. Also, we can tell that the economic profit is now above the new price that has been given. Although the economic profit is above the price, since the demand has shifted now below the average total cost curve, this is an economic loss. Although it is an economic loss, it does not mean that the company is not making money, because economic profit and accounting profit are very different.
According to the Google definition of advertisements, an advertisement is a notice or announcement in a public medium promoting a product, service, or event, or publicizing a job vacancy. If we break this down, the act of promoting is to support or actively encourage. In essence, in economic terms, a firm is aiming to achieve a shift in demand for their product. This means that D is shifting to D1, meaning that consumers are wanting to purchase the product upon watching the advertisement. Furthermore, the firm is aiming to achieve a higher total revenue. The total revenue at the new equilibrium point can be seen in the diagram above. The Life of Breakfast ad by Dorset Cereals aims to perform this function, stemming from two fundamental views. Before we answer the question, we need to understand these two views on advertising in order to eliminate the wrong answers. There are two views. The first view is that advertising has a psychological impact on the consumer. This is the view that commercials create a desire that otherwise might not exist. More importantly, advertising is psychological rather than informational. Stemming off this psychological view are two theories, the signal of quality theory and the brand perception theory. Starting with the signal of quality theory. As advertising has a psychological effect, many types of advertisements contain little to apparent no information about the product being advertised, and can still be successful with a shift in demand. The theory states that an advertiser signals the inferiority of its product by its willingness to spend money on advertising. The fact that the consumers are aware and believe that a lot of money has been spent on the advertisement, they purchase the product, and it is believed to be a signal of quality. As for brand perception, advertising often tries to increase the perception of a product through fostering brand loyalty. When a firm faces a less elastic demand, it can increase its profits by charging a larger markup over marginal cost. This is particularly the case with monopolistic firms. For example, brands like Rolex or Kellogg's for cereals will be purchased by consumers regardless of the advertisement itself. On the flip side of this, advertising provides information for customers and is not psychological. Advertising conveys the prices of the good being sold, the existence of new products, and the location of retail outlets. This information can therefore increase competition, allowing customers to be able to compare offerings of different firms. Thus, advertising can enhance the ability of markets to allocate resources efficiently. This view is the complete opposite to the psychological view with regard to the signaling theory and the brand theory, as the ad is now having to contain information that customers can use in order to purchase a product. You support the fact that ads have a positive impact on demand for products. With that understood, we can answer the question. The question states, this is an ad about breakfast cereals and yet has very little information about the types of cereals, their nutritional values, healthiness, etc. According to The Economist, these types of advertising are A. A waste of money. I believe this goes against the psychological theory of advertising as mentioned, that regardless of the content in the advert, depending on consumers' perception, the advert can still increase consumer demand. B. It's good to stimulate demand for children. The ad's content being animated, etc., may lead to an increase in demand for children, once again supporting the psychological theory. However, the question is asking about the type of ad showing limited information, which has nothing to do with the age demographic. C. Advertising as a signal of quality. As mentioned, the signaling theory relies on consumers' perception of the ad's value, regardless of the information involved, as this perception of value is believed to win the consumer over. I believe this to be the right answer due to the ad's overall nature to feel expensive, given the animated storyline. It's not as cheap and basic ad. Therefore, C was the right answer. Lastly, D. The ad is an indication that the firm is not a price taker. This answer can be excluded as there is no theory to suggest this style of ad supports that the firm is not a price taker.
Hey, my name is Jamie Nelson, and I will be doing question 2 of Monopolistic competition. So, question 2 asks, the Sydney Morning Herald article mentions that cereal giant Kellogg's recorded a $293 million loss. If firms in a monopolistically competitive market are incurring economic losses, which of the following scenarios would best reflect the change facing incumbent firms, which are those who are able to stay in the market, as the market adjusts to its new equilibrium? A. A downward shift in their marginal cost curve. B. An upward shift in their marginal cost curve. C. An increase in demand. Or D. A decrease in demand. When firms in a monopolistically competitive market are incurring economic losses, they are said to have incentive to exit the market. This then reduces total market supply and product range, as shown in the graph. A. A downward shift in their marginal cost curve. For a downward shift in the incumbent firm's marginal cost curve to occur, there must be a decrease in the cost of producing each additional unit of the good, which is not the case here, as this scenario only affects the supply and demand for a firm's good, not the cost of production. B. An upward shift in their marginal cost curve. This answer is also not correct. As explained on the previous slide, firms exiting the market affects the incumbent firm's level of demand, not their cost per additional unit of production. C. An increase in demand. This answer is correct. This is as, when firms are making losses in a monopolistically competitive market, they have an incentive to exit the market, which then, in this scenario, leaves the consumer with less cereal brands to choose from, therefore increasing the demand for incumbent firms' products, as demonstrated in the graph earlier shown. D. A decrease in demand. This answer is also not correct. As explained in the previous slide, when firms exit the market, the reduced consumer choice leads to an increase in demand for the remaining products.
Question 4. Do you think the breakfast market has all the characteristics of a monopolistic competition? The characteristics of a good produced by a monopolistically competitive firm include: the consumer has many alternatives to choose from. There are many firms producing a similar product or few firms producing multiple variations of the same product. As a result, the consumer has many close substitutes to choose from. This can be seen in the breakfast market as there are several major producers of breakfast cereal, such as Kellogg's, General Mills, and PepsiCo. Each produces cornflakes, Raisin Bran, and many other variations. In addition, there are a good number of smaller specialty brands that produce items such as organic cornflakes. So we can see that it covers many firms. There are also differentiated products. Each firm faces a downward sloping demand curve. Since their product is slightly differentiated from their competitors, product differences may either be real or perceived. The difference is emphasized by advertising. Since the firm faces a downward sloping demand curve, it can raise price and demand will not drop to zero. or it can lower the price to increase sales. This can be seen if a consumer were to purchase Kellogg's cornflakes from General Mills or PepsiCo. Even though they may taste the same, consumers may be willing to pay more for Kellogg's through its perceived high quality from its advertising. Now, there are minimal barriers to entry. The goods and services produced are easy to replicate by other firms that represent potential competition. If economic profits are present, then new firms will enter the industry. This can be seen in the breakfast market, as there are many competitors entering the market as the market slowly drops by 0.5% annually. So if we take a current cost curve and then we decrease demand as new firms enter, so we put new demand, and then we also decrease marginal revenue, we can see that in a monopolistically competitive market, the economic profit slowly goes towards zero. Since the new demand curve is now slightly below the average total cost curve, that means that it will be making an economic loss. And the new price, even though staying at the same price 1 and now price 2, no relatively big change, the economic profit will still be zero. So this shows how there are many firms, a differentiated product, and how the entry and exit of the market is quite free.